For most of us, a full stop signifies an ending, the end of a sentence, a paragraph, or the whole job. As oxymoronic as this may sound, this is how I start my talk today. Most of the stories I will share with you today will be where families think they have reached the end and a full stop. How easy is it to look at the full stop as a beginning? Seldom do we have the vision and the power to look at it as the end of only one thing, but the beginning of a lot more. Fragile X is an inherited condition. It causes intellectual disability and autism. In fact, Fragile X is the only known single gene cause of autism. We have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Our last pair, the X and the Y. The X chromosome carries a gene known as the FMR1 gene. Changes or a mutation on that gene can make it shut down and stop production of a protein responsible for brain development. This can lead to intellectual disability or autism. However, when you look at that gene under a microscope, it looks as if it's broken or just holding on together with fragile ties. In reality, it's shut down and it cannot do the work it has to do. I am thinking of innumerable stories that I have to share with you. Let's begin with a story of a mother. In the year 2010, she read an article on Fragile X syndrome in the newspaper. She was living with her son and his diagnosis of autism and doing her best to help her child. When she read the symptoms of Fragile X syndrome, she felt they matched her son and gave her sample for testing. The results came back in 4 weeks, and shocking as it may sound, her child actually had Fragile X syndrome. After receiving the accurate diagnosis, the child was given treatment for Fragile X syndrome. He was given medicines and therapies for Fragile X, and the parents were equipped with better strategies to empower the child. Today, that child has grown up to be an individual who's happy, young, and confident. He bakes. In fact, he even teaches baking. He draws. He loves doing calligraphy and caricatures. That is how the parents saw a beginning rather than the end. Fragile X often passes down generations silently, and a family will know about it only when they have a child diagnosed with it. In some families, Fragile X can impact more than one individual in the family. We've all been through algebra in school, and finding X was such a problem. Finding Fragile X syndrome is a reality. It is a problem in reality. Fragile X syndrome often camouflages itself behind autism or other intellectual disabilities and conditions. You actually have to look for Fragile X. It's not very apparent and easy. Let me tell you a little about the history of Fragile X. The gene responsible for Fragile X syndrome was only discovered in the year 1991, which is only 30 years. And in medical history, that's a short span of time. Researchers are still studying the gene, and there is a dire need to create awareness about this condition worldwide. 1 in 5,000 children around the world are affected with Fragile X syndrome. That makes it 4 lakh children in India who have Fragile X syndrome. And that is 4 lakh families who have Fragile X related conditions. Out of these, only 20% have actually received the right diagnosis. The others still await awareness and the right diagnosis. However, everything I've said is of no use. It is of no use if there is no action. Whenever you speak to a family whose child has Fragile X, one thing on their wish list always is awareness. They wish there was more awareness. They wish they had known earlier. They wish their child had received the help in time. We can spread awareness. We can fulfill the wishes of those families. Let's get together and spread awareness for Fragile X. There are 33 organizations throughout the world who work towards Fragile X awareness. In India, there's only one. We Indians can get together and support Fragile X awareness. Ultimately, it's fragile, not broken.